Welcome to Cozy Coven Chats with Jenny C. Bell, where we explore the journey of the witch. Hello, witches, and welcome to another Cozy Coven Chat. I am your host, Jenny C. Bell, and this is for the month of August. So remember, I am a mom and busy, and so once September comes around, we will go back to weekly podcasts. I hope this podcast has found you. I released it on a Friday instead of a Sunday because I wanted you to have all the information to celebrate the first harvest, also known as Lughnasadh or Lammas. So we're going to get to that in a moment. I hope everybody is well. Mercury in retrograde in Cancer was not for the weak. I always talk about how Cancer season in general always feels a little sad and goth in the middle of summer, but then you throw a Mercury retrograde in there and it's like wild. To go back to July, I actually did a family vacation to San Diego. We ended up going to the Getty first in LA, and then we spent time at Mission Bay in San Diego. We saw family, and then we came home, and it was wonderful. It's the first time we've done a family vacation in a long time, and all of that. It was so cool to be at the ocean during the new moon in Cancer. Like, you can't really beat that. But I'm very happy to be home. And it's funny because I used to always say, like, oh, if I won the lottery, totally live in San Diego. Nothing against San Diego, but I wouldn't. I actually really love where I live. I really love the PNW. I've definitely been won over by Southern Oregon. It's small, but we have cute things like museums and coffee shops and, metaphysical shops and bookstores. I just love just being able to get out into the natural world so quickly and easily. Like, there's something so magical about that because I just didn't have access to untouched green spaces where I live. So I originally am from New Jersey. We had parks, and we had this one park called Rifle Camp Park, which was kind of like wooded, and that was really fun. I spent a lot of time there. So we had that. But still, it's in the middle of like northern New Jersey, which is all suburbs for New York City, right? So doesn't give you that sense of like untouched wonder. And then living in California, we drive up to the different mountains and hike in this, but very populated. The desert, I would spend a lot of time out in the Mojave Desert, especially with my geology club. And there's a sacredness and a beauty to the desert that is very different from a forest. And I recommend everybody, if you've never been to a desert, do that at least once in your lifetime. The sky in the desert is amazing. The ability to just see for miles and miles is beautiful. But I really do love a forest and love living here. I love that I'm a short drive away from the redwoods or the coast. And there's also desert here in Oregon. Like, it feels like such a special place to live. I'm near Mount Shasta, and that in itself is really cool. So anyway, it's true. Like going on vacation, going on a trip, coming home, you just really appreciate home more, or you don't. And if you don't, that means something, right? Like when I lived in California, I always wanted to be away from where I lived. I don't feel that way anymore. So I guess for me, it was a confirmation that we did the right thing by moving our family here, because that was quite a leap to do during COVID, and having never lived here or even visited here. I had never even been to Oregon, and we moved here. So kind of blind, going in blind, but it just felt right. Really was part of my spiritual process and awakening more and diving more into my spiritual practice, and paid off. So it was really interesting. So that's a little bit about July. Also in July, we had Samantha Corfield in Our Coven. She wrote Create Your Own Afterlife, which is such a cool book about basically planning your afterlife without any dogma or religion so that you can live better now. Because a lot of people, they fear dying, death and dying, and what's going to happen, and there's this big unknown. So it kind of gives you that, empowers you to plan it, and then you work backwards, right? Like we used to do that in teaching, lesson planning. Like, okay, if I want my students to be able to write an essay on Romeo and Juliet and, the themes of, love versus infatuation or whatever, how do I get them there? That's the end product. Now let's work backwards. How do I get the students there? And so it's the same idea. It's like, okay, we create our own afterlife. How do we go back and live so that we have that afterlife? But we had her in our coven not to even talk about that, because she's very, very knowledgeable, very wise. She's become a friend, and I've asked her for some advice here and there. And she's so wise on folk magic and voodoo and hoodoo and voodoo and New Orleans history. And so she came in and talked about traditional New Orleans witchcraft, which is, she talked about indigenous tribes there and just a little bit of the history, and then how to make magic your own. It was a beautiful chat. So July was really good. Our other thing in our coven was our theme was symbolism. And so a member said, hey, since working on symbolism, what if we all took turns giving different divination readings? Because that's symbolism, right? That's how divination works for most of us. Like we use the symbol of a card or charms or tea leaves or whatever. We're reading the symbols. And so let's put it into practice. And so tons of people signed up. And then she organized them into this is your day that you're going to offer the reading or whatever. And I got a few readings. And so people either could participate by reading for others or getting readings. And it was so cool. My favorite reading that I saw that I participated in was such a unique idea. A member used a cloth that was an astrological wheel, when you get your chart done, right? Like that kind of a wheel. And she casted charms onto there and then explained the connection between the charm and where it landed in the chart on there and what that meant for you. And it was so spot on, but I've never seen anything like that. And I was like, you need to do more of this. People would pay money to do this. So it was really beautiful. And so many people participated. I got to see so many different styles of divination and what card decks people have. And I got to see confidence grow. Some people saying, I've never read for anybody. And that's not the end goal, right? You don't have to turn all of the things you do magically into money. You don't have to have a side hustle or this is going to be my career now. But it's really fun to do for other people. And so that's just fun. It was just some people are I'm never going to do this for a living. I just want to practice it to practice it. And there's some kind of beauty in that, because if you were to have a group of people in person, that's what you would do, right? So people always ask it's an online coven, how can it be a community? I just gave you that example, right? It's a real community. You can feel it. That was another thing Samantha Corfield talked about, was that she could feel the energy. The Our Coven energy is so beautiful and so receptive. And I'm yeah, that's how I feel when I do card readings for us. It feels good. It's a good, strong energy. So super proud of where we've come. Started off really small and it's just grown, and just love the initiative. Feeling really, really positive about that. And so just speaking about our coven, we will be focusing on potions. That's our theme for August. So again, all these themes came from the coven themselves. And so August is potions. And so what does that mean? The very basic, right? A cup of tea or coffee is a potion. Anytime you make moon water, it's a potion. But we can get beyond that. And so I'm excited to see kind of where the conversation goes. I'm going to get to our cards, and I'm going to get to talking about Lughnasadh, Lammas, and all of the moons. But a couple of things before I forget. I will be live on Facebook with Unturned Pages. Unturned Pages is a podcast, and I will be on there on August 23rd. So if you are on Facebook, just look for Unturned Pages and follow them, and then you'll get prompted when the live happens, and we're going to be talking about divergent witchcraft. So I'm really excited. I was on last year, and it was one of the very first podcasts I ever did, and Jenny, the host, was so kind to me that I was I want to come back if you'll have me. So that was really, really nice. let me go over the cards, and then we'll go over the dates, and then we'll talk about Lammas Lughnasadh. So this time I pulled from 2 new card decks I got. One is from Hay House, one is from US Games. So the tarot is the Heart's Path Tarot, and I pulled the Knight of Wands, which I'm going to put pictures on the Substack post. So if you're on Substack, you'll see a picture of the cards. So the Knight of Wands in this deck is a person, looks like a man. He's an archer. He's out in the middle of the forest. The sun is either setting or rising, kind of depending on your perspective. The atmosphere, the environment looks like it's in autumn. He is a flame, but not in a scary way, right? Like he's got fiery aura. And he's aiming his fiery arrow up, kind of like up beyond the forest, and there's a map on the ground. So this feels to me like determination, right? We're in Leo season, we're heading to Virgo season. So this feels like a combination of the fiery energy of Leo and how that amplifies you and gives you confidence and that inner power, and then using it to set your sights on something like you would in Virgo season. Virgo season is very organized. And so it's feeling like we're going to use this energy. We're going to make ourselves feel filled up with this fiery energy, this light, and then use it in some way to focus that energy. Leo season is one of my favorites. So many Leos in my life. Shout out to my daughter. Her birthday is August 11th. So many good Leos in my life. And I just love the feeling of Leo season because you want to shine. You want to be confident. You want to get a haircut. You want to dress a little nicer. Like it just feels really good. And I love that it leads into Virgo season because it's like, okay, we were shining bright and now we're going to get kind of more organized, more focused. This also feels like Sagittarius energy because it is an archer in the map, right? Because Sagittarius is like the wanderer. But yeah, it really feels like we're past Mercury in retrograde. The nodes have shifted to Aquarius and Leo. We have all this kind of energy building up. And for me, the full moon at the end of July almost felt like an eclipse. It really felt like a shifting, a change is coming, but big time reset energy. Like it really felt like, okay, let's reset. Let's take stock of everything. Let's manifest. Like kind of interesting because Lammas, or Lughnasadh, which we're going to talk about in a moment, can be seen as the first harvest or kind of like the last push of summer energy. And this moon really felt like last push. Like, let's clarify some things. Let's get ready to get some goals achieved, right? The other cards, also from the Heart's Path Tarot, is the Chariot. And this one, there's another sun, either sunrise or sunset. And the Chariot got 2 horses, a black and a white horse with the crescent moons on their forehead. And they are pulling a man in a cart near a river. And so Chariot energy is fast moving energy, change, usually for the better. It's usually good change. I use the Chariot card when I'm like, hey, it's Jenny interrupting myself to invite you to join my private, cozy, and international community, Our Coven. We are an inclusive community off of main social media dedicated to learning and growing as witches. To learn more, please go to jennycbell.com. Going to do a travel spell because it's travel energy. So for some of us, it could be travel, physical, because we also have in the Wands card, he's got a map. And so there's this energy of like traveling, but it could be in so many ways. It could be like physically traveling, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. There's this quickness to August is what I'm seeing. There's a quickness, there's a focus, there's a fiery energy, there's change. Yeah. And then the last card from that tarot deck, the Heart's Path Tarot, is the Star. And in this one, we have this beautiful woman who, like, water is dripping from her dress into what looks like could be a lake or a river or an ocean body of water, and her legs are in the water. She's sitting on the edge. There's a dove, and there's a big star in the sky, and then 7 other stars. around her, and there's like hills, and it's very peaceful. And I often think of the star as like the wish card, like the lucky wish come true card. So it's always a positive for me. So I'm looking at 3 very positive cards. I'm looking at the Wands. This Knight of Wands is focused on, a lot of times we associate the Wands with career, but if you don't have a career, you don't work outside of the home, could be something else like a hobby or a passion. So there's a focus on that. There is movement, change, or travel with the Chariot. And then the star is just this contemplation, this completion of a wish or a dream that's coming true, right? That whole wish upon a star. So really positive. And then I picked 2 from, let me find the book. Hang on. Okay. Here it is. I wanted to make sure I got it right. The Morbid Mirror Oracle Guidebook. And this is also from, US Games. This author, I think it's Sunny Graves or Sony Graves. She made the Happy Halloween Tarot, which became like a favorite of mine. And then she just put out this Oracle deck, and I'm obsessed. And so if you like Halloween, Samhain, fall, Oracle type themes, you need it. I don't say that very often. The cards are black, and then they have like a metallic shimmer to them, and they are just so beautiful. There's so many cards. There's like over 70 cards. The book is really well done. So the one I pulled for us is The Art of Being. It says, just being born makes you worthy of being here. Let yourself just be. And it's a skeleton like admiring a butterfly. And then the other one is Ghosts and Hauntings. Start living the life of your dreams at once in any capacity that you possibly can. And it's just all these happy ghosts, including a cat in a heart. So with these 2, it's like, let yourself rest, because the energy of the tarot is kind of busy and kind of like you're not going to rest. And then the Ghosts and Hauntings is about living your dreams. And that's the energy I was getting at the end of July. It was like time to check in with all the manifestations and dreams and keep going. And then we have the Star card, which is dreams come true, wishes come true. So definitely going to be a busy month. Definitely feeling the energy coming through. Don't forget to let yourself just be sometimes. And then definitely let yourself live your dreams in some way, right? Whatever that means to you. So I love that. Okay. So those are our cards. Our new moon is on August 12th, and that's going to be a Leo new moon, which, again, I just talked about how I love Leo season. Leo new moons are great for checking in on your own confidence, your own place in the world, your own sense of power. Very simple activity would be to get a strength card from the tarot, which has the lovely lion. Take that card, add a candle, and journal about what does it mean to be in your strength, your power, your light. Where are you letting yourself be seen? Where are you not letting yourself be seen, right? Just really thinking about shining. And we have the Star card. And then Virgo season begins August 22nd. And that's always like back to school energy. Like it's like, let's get organized, let's clean, let's clear out the old and the clutter and get everything just so. And I love that because that energy leads into Libra season, which is all about beautifying. So we clean and we cleanse, and then we beautify. That's what I'm actually writing about in my 3rd book, is that kind of transition. And then August 28th is a full moon in Pisces. Like yummy, dreamy Pisces, right? Pisces is the mystic of the zodiac. We got dream energy and spiritual curiosity. That's a great day for like literally any kind of spell. Full moon in Pisces is just like, let's be magical. Let's do it. And then, yeah, so I really, really love that for all of us. So those are great things going on. Let's take a moment and talk about Lammas, Lughnasadh. I actually don't like either one of those. My 3rd book is about, that I'm writing, is about like living seasonally and monthly. It's a month-to-month guide on living magic. So it's like basically like you build a foundation with divergent witchcraft. You're a witch. You understand some basics. Well, how do you live it day to day? How do you live the practice? So that's what this book is. And in this book, I talk about, just that, right? Like living and using and kind of looking at the Sabbath seasonally, which I talk about on this podcast. Like, to me, Lammas Lughnasadh is not just August 1st. It's like all the way until Mabon or autumn equinox. Like, it's this whole slice of the year. Because especially with these cross-quarter days, they're not really in sync with like an equinox or a solstice. They're kind of like they're in the middle, right? So this holiday, I just like to call first harvest, because I don't worship Lu. And then Lammas, I'm unclear where that name came from. So I just think first harvest. And, if you go to farmers markets or you get a CSA or whatever, you'll start to see like some things are finally being harvested. For me, this time of year is always about peaches. And I will refrain from singing the song from Mario. I almost did. I almost slipped into Little Jack Black right now, but I'm not going to do that. Mainly because like copyright, right? But this time of year, will be, they said, our third or fourth year going to this local peach farm to get peaches. So every year around this time of year, the peaches are ripe. They also have flowers, and we got like 20 pounds of peaches and 10 beautiful zinnias. It was like $23. Like, so nice. And all the people there are nice, and it's just a family farm. And so for me, I used to always associate this time of year with corn, because it's kind of tradition, make cornbread and, those kinds of things. But now my first harvest is always about peaches. So I'll be making a peach cobbler on that day. And my son's trying to convince my husband to make a peach ice cream to go with it, which honestly, why not? And I'll probably make some other kind of, I'm more concerned about the dessert. More excited for dessert. I'll make some other kind of dinner that I'll try to be like more seasonally minded, but definitely making peach cobbler. So I encourage you with these holidays, especially these harvest holidays, which start now, right? Lughnasadh, Lammas, then we go to Mabon, autumn equinox, and Samhain. What is actually being harvested where you live? Like, what's actually going on? And if you go, well, I live where there isn't anything. Okay, like in your state or in your part of the world, like maybe you don't have any farms near you, but okay, what are you seeing at farmers market? What's being brought in at this time? And then how can you work with that and celebrate? Because that's you tuning into your local season instead of like an arbitrary universal season. So like forever I lived in the Mojave Desert. And so it's like really in the desert, it doesn't feel like seasons. Like it really, we would get snow because we're a high desert. And so, obviously it gets super hot in the summer, but it really just felt like kind of two seasons. It felt like summer and winter. Like you don't really feel a spring or a fall. You could drive to see the poppies, but that's honestly been a little bit ruined by Instagram. Like many things. I have like such a interesting relationship with social media. You find me through social media, and for that I'm grateful. For everybody that finds me on TikTok or Instagram or whatever, I'm like, yes, like thank you social media, Substack. That's how I reach people. But then there's like such a negative side, which is like people oversharing, people being wellness influencers or other kind of influencers that are just kind of icky. And yeah, it's rough. It's rough. I often think about, I like to hang my phone up, right? Like you would. Do you remember, for those of you that remember, when you had like wireless phones, right? You still needed to charge them. Like in the late 90s, early 2000s, you still had to like hang it up because, you'd talk to your friend, at least I would, a teenager, talk for a couple hours and then the phone's beeping. I'm like, oh, my phone's going to die. I got to get on the landline that's like attached to the wall. So I like to think about that. I've been doing that. So I've been like hanging up my phone. I'm like, okay, I don't need it at night. It's actually my dental hygienist was telling me about something called popcorn brain. And she's like, it's this idea that we can no longer hold attention. And let me just go back. So let me go back to college. I had a professor who was like, there's a study done with our generation at the time because she was in her 40s and I was not. I was like 19 or 20. I loved her class. I think I took like 4 classes with her because I just really liked her. But she's like, there's a study done that your generation, when it's like traditional commercial time, gets fidgety or like loses interest because you've been trained by the television. And now people are starting to think that we're being trained by social media, right? That we have a hard time retaining attention. And they call it popcorn brain. So it's like you're watching TV, but you also have your phone and you're going back and forth. And a lot of people do that. And so basically I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to like hang my phone up at times so that it's just like not near me and I'm focusing on whatever task I am doing, right? Instead of being like multitasking, because we all know multitasking is not for everybody, and you're not always doing your best when you're multitasking. And so that's something I've been thinking about. I've also been thinking about how a lot of people aren't reading. And just so you know, as a former English teacher and literature major, I 100% count audiobooks as reading. So don't ever be like, oh yeah, I don't really read, I listen to audiobooks. No, you're reading. You're actually retaining sometimes more through audiobooks. Because when we read, we naturally skip over words. When you listen to audiobooks, you're hearing perfect grammar a lot of times. It's actually better for your vocabulary. So there's a lot of benefits to audiobooks. And don't ever say that you don't read when you listen to audiobooks. That's a very, it's like elitist. It's gatekeepy. I don't like it. So embrace it, listening to the audiobook. So if you listen to audiobooks, you know how to pronounce everything, right? Those of us just reading these romantices with no audio, we're just saying everything wrong. Like, we don't know how to pronounce anybody's names. You do. So you have an advantage. So that's the other thing is people aren't really reading, is partly because of the internet, right? Of social media. People read headlines. They don't read whole articles, or they read 1 or 2 slides and then you reshare it and then you go, wait, slide 5 was actually kind of creepy. I shouldn't have shared it. So I guess in general, this podcast was started because I felt a need to slow down. And I guess I feel that even more now with the way social media is just snowballing. And now you have AI on there and the algorithms are getting more creepy because of AI. And you have all of that embedded. It's just, I think it's really important to consciously unplug yourself for a certain amount of time every day, and then retrain your brain to slow down, right? If you're not reading a book because you don't have time, I get that. You got to still try to read maybe once a week. Our brains need it. And it's not, and reading on like social media and scrolling isn't doing anything for our brains, right? It's not. So I think, even getting a book like a day book where you're just like, you read a little bit of it each week, right? That's a great way. If you're not like, I don't have time to read a novel or this or that, getting a book on witchcraft that you've been wanting to read and only reading like a section at a time, getting one of those Llewellyn almanacs, which by the way, I am in, let me grab it, Llewellyn's 2027 Sabbath's Almanac, and I wrote the section, Introduction and the Ritual for Imbolc. So I did Beltane last time, and this time I did Imbolc. I keep picking the cross-quarter days because I feel like they don't get as much love as everything else. And I'm in there with some other fun authors. It's a really cool cover this year. It's like a woman wearing like either a fox or a wolf mask. I don't know. It's fun. And then if you haven't been watching or listening to Belief Being and Beyond with Granddaughter Crow and I, it's a good time. We are evolving. We keep connecting and meeting and okay, how can we do this better? How can we do this better? Meeting a lot of interesting people. We're trying to bring a diversity of guests, so it's not like always the same kind of guest. We're really trying to be mindful of that. We're doing, we just did our first like solo, just the 2 of us show in July, where we talked about spiritual protection. And then we're trying to do these roundtables where we bring experts to a topic that's interesting. So we did one on AI, we did one on divination, we'll be doing one in August. We took a break in July because I was on vacation, and that's when we did the solo one, just the 2 of us. But that's been a beautiful experience. I miss those days where we could just like, when you were in college, or you could go to meetings in person, or you could tune in to like PBS and just see a group of experts, like a panel, talk about something. Like, that's what's fun about cons, right? If you go to Comic-Con or any kind of con, they'll often have these panel talks, and it's like, that's so fun because the people interact with each other, and it's like, okay, these are all experts in this field, and they talk about things, and it's just this really fun dialogue to listen to. It's something I would teach my students. When I was a teacher, we did Socratic seminar, where we would read an article, they would mark it up, highlight it, ask questions, and then we'd sit in a circle, no desks, and I would start off by asking a question, and then my goal was to not talk for the rest of the 45 minutes, just for the students to go around and discuss something in an intelligent and academic manner. And it was beautiful to watch, because these are like middle schoolers or freshmen, that's predominantly what I taught, talking like professors and saying really interesting things. And it's good for us to practice that and have that, see that in person, to watch it, to practice it. I wish more of us had those opportunities. So we're trying to bring that. And that's been really cool. I've met some really cool people through the show, especially Deborah Blake. I mean, living legend. When we met and she told me, she's like, we look like we could be related. I was like, oh my God. I was like fangirling. It was pretty cool. So I'm living the dream, in other words. Let's talk a little bit about August and August energy and like what it means tuning in. So for me, where I live, my plants are blooming, they're flourishing, or they're on the decline. It's like all kinds of things. So right now my elderberries are ripening. My lavender's done. My some flowers are having their second bloom, which they would have had their first bloom in like May, and they're having their second bloom. And so for me, this is a great time of year to collect things to dry and to make smoke bundles. I have a step-by-step in Our Coven, but basically collecting herbs that are not toxic and bundling them up in a cotton thread to use for cleansing and cleaning and clearing energy. These also make really great gifts. People really like them for Christmas time or Yule or whatever you celebrate, right? Those are really fun. This is a good time of year to collect, like I said, go look for fruit picking. So we used to do apple picking every year in California. Now we do peach picking. So looking for You Pick Farms. This is a good time of year to either reflect on the year so far and start to do the first harvest things, or to do that last push I talked about. I really feel like with this energy this year, it feels like last push energy, but you do you, right? You might be looking at this time of year as like a harvest. You're like, okay, this is first harvest. What am I grateful for? What am I harvesting in my life? And what am I releasing? And that kind of paves the way for the autumn equinox. Or you might be like, okay, let me look over these goals, manifestations. What's left and how can I get there? Got the rest of the year, how can I get there? And there's no wrong path. I do have a lot of information on the holidays in Our Coven, but also on Insight Timer, I have a chat about Lammas Lughnasadh as well as a meditation. And we also have the Lionsgate portal, and I have a meditation on that as well. And this is the idea that the star Sirius lines up with the sun, and that this was supposedly a significant time in ancient Egypt. And it's all connected with Sekhmet, who's the lion-headed goddess, and people call it the Lionsgate portal because it's 8/8. Anytime in the New Age community when numbers line up, like 11/11, they call them portals. This is the only one that I feel really deeply connected with. This time of year feels very magical to me, and really like from the end of July till basically the end of Leo season just feels extra magical. And that could be because I'm so connected with different Leos, could be this portal energy, could be just the Lughnasadh Lammas energy. But this just feels ripe with magic to me. And I know everybody talks about that with Samhain, and I definitely feel a thinning of the veils at that time, but this feels different. This feels like a sense of power, like that if you could really tap into the Earth's power and the solar power and the power of Sirius. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, like I said, I have the meditation insight timer on YouTube and in Our Coven. And the thing is with portals and new age things, you can do it. You can do all. Just because you're a witch doesn't mean you can't do other things. You don't have to be strict on yourself. A lot of witches, folk magic especially, is very Catholic. You don't have to give that up, right? You can just kind of do your own thing. In fact, funny story. So I went to San Diego, mainly did things we went to the Getty in LA. We did the San Diego Zoo, of course, which is amazing. We did all the Mission Bay kind of fun things, not SeaWorld. I refuse to go there. But we, kind of just did the San Diego stuff, fish tacos, all that. The one thing I wanted to do is I really wanted to go to Old Town because there's always cool things from Mexico there. There's good candy there. It's very touristy, but I like it. And I wanted to see the Whaley House because I've never seen it. So the Whaley House is named the most haunted house in America. That seems to come from the Travel Channel. Did some kind of collection at one point. They earned that title and they kept it. And so the story of the Whaley House is this. There was a gallows in San Diego, and the last person to be hanged there was Yankee Jim. And Yankee Jim was a petty thief. I forget where he's from. He immigrated. The name Yankee Jim was kind of ironic. He's a tall guy. He tried to steal a boat, and it's just a petty thing. He got caught, and then he goes to jail. Now, while he's there, they're starting to talk about how they're going to kill him, put him on, bring him possibly to the gallows for stealing a boat. And he thinks the whole thing's a joke. They're scaring him straight. He can't believe this could be real. And it's partly because they were trying to say that he's a pirate and that he was a terrorist because it was their only boat for the whole area and he was going to leave them all stranded. The whole court thing gets out of control. Supposedly the judge was drinking, and the two of the jury members were the people he tried to steal the boat from. Anyway, he gets sentenced to death for failing to steal a boat. And he goes to the gallows, but he's extra tall, and they don't account for this. So it takes over 40 minutes for him to strangle to death, instead of him breaking his neck. It's a slow death. And Thomas Whaley is there, and he sees all this go down, and he still decides to buy that land, which I find strange. He builds his very nice house there. He has these archways put into the house, which is where the gallows stood. And it's a very pretty Victorian home. But he supposedly Yankee Jim haunts, Thomas Whaley haunts. They had a baby die of scarlet fever. The baby haunts there. His daughter Violet, she took her own life. She haunts the Whaley House, plus other possible spirits from the gallows prior to Yankee Jim. And so I took my family. They have a special collection right now of 1800s dolls. I did not tell them that part because they're not fans, but they had that, which I thought was really cool. They have the courthouse and the jail cell there. They have an old vaudeville theater there. You get to walk all around the house. They have a lot of artifacts because they did some kind of archaeological dig, and they, found things like Maybelline eyelash, mascara, and nail polish bottles, basically the Whaley's trash. And they put some of that in there and preserved it. And we definitely felt strange at the top of the stairs. So we kind of we're outside, we get the tour, we're inside looking around. Dining room felt a little weird. Found out I think a sister-in-law or something haunts the dining room area. We get to the top of the stairs and I just felt dizzy and like breathing kind of weird. And my daughter's like, my heart's racing. My son's like, I feel nauseous. And so then we later found out that Thomas and his daughter are known to haunt kind of the stairs. So it was pretty cool. We went in the day, just so it wouldn't be as scary for everybody. And then afterwards, this is a really beautiful church there that has like a great statue of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And so I took everybody into the church and we used the holy water to cleanse ourselves, which is very like witch, like, let me take you to a haunted house. We did our spiritual protections before the haunted house, and like, let's also go to a church and use the holy water, because why not? And it was a funny like church. I haven't been to a Catholic church like this before. I'm sure this is very common now, but it had like battery operated candles with like a switch. So you say the prayer and you just touch the switch and there's the candle. And we got excited because Saint Anthony was there. And we call on Tony often to help us find lost items in the house. So I told my daughter, I'm like, hey, it's your guy, it's Tony. Like, she uses this Tony prayer all the time. So let's give him thanks. So we did that. There was a great gift shop where I got some cool saint cards. I got a St. Nicholas saint medallion, which I'll be using in charm readings to talk about Christmas and gift giving, like such a cool symbol. And then we walked around. We, of course, got good Mexican food to eat and candy from the candy shop. And yeah, but I loved doing that. Like, it was my first time. I've done ghost towns with my kids before. My daughter did a haunted ghost tour with my husband because my son was too young at the time. And I was like, I'm going to give this to you because, it's normally my thing I get to do. So he got to do with her. And it's just fun. So if you see things like that, like, it's fun for us. I talked about this on Belief, Being, and Beyond, but I'm never afraid of stuff like that. Like, instead, it's just confirmation that everything I believe is real. That's how I look at it. I never feel fear. So yeah, back to August. I think of kind of that, the garden is starting to become done. Things are being harvested and ripened. And then I also think about back to school energy. So what does back to school energy mean? That means like looking at your apothecary. Okay, like currently I'm making 4 Thieves vinegar, which I actually prefer to fire cider, but to each their own. And so getting like my vinegars made, getting some tinctures set up, making sure I have things like cherry bark, because that's the best thing for a sore throat. Maybe making some honey with garlic, like just getting the apothecary ready, because I don't want to have to deal with that when I'm already sick, right? We want to get all that stuff ready. I also like to do things like make some things and put them in the freezer for just in case we all feel sick. I have a freezer meal. Right now I'm we harvested peaches, so there's peaches in the freezer. I got my first batch of elderberries that ripened in the freezer, which I'll be making syrup with. So that's back to school energy. Back to school energy is also cleaning, decluttering, buying office supplies, buying journal supplies. If that's what you like to do, this time of year, everything's cheapest. So it's the time of year to get stickers and planners and, do that little refresh for yourself, even if you're not in school, right? And if you have kids, back to school energy is real. Like, you're really doing all that and getting all that ready. But it's a good refresh, and that totally goes in with Virgo season. But yeah, I hope that August is beautiful for you. I'll be talking with you all soon. Definitely check out Belief, Being, and Beyond, my other podcast. Check out Unturned Pages on August 23rd. If you haven't read Divergent Witchcraft, if you haven't heard the news, it's on audio. So please give it a read there, right? Because that counts as reading. And it's everywhere you could find audio. Love the voice actor. She did a great job reading. And I'll be doing a giveaway pretty soon too. So that'll be in September. Plan on giving away some audiobook copies, because I think that's how most people read now. And that's okay, right? Like, that's okay. Like, make peace with that. I kind of went over a few general questions for the moons, but let's kind of focus on Lammas Lughnasadh energy. So what are you currently harvesting? What are you hoping to harvest in the future? What does back to school mean to you? And what is Leo season inspiring you to do? right? So step into that Leo energy, the lion, all of that. What is it inspiring you to do? I hope you have a wonderful August. Talk to you soon. Blessed be. As always, thank you for listening. Please subscribe and share with a friend. And be on the lookout for my books, Spirit Crystals, Discover Your Crystal Guide for Healing and Empowerment, and Divergent Witchcraft, an inclusive approach to making magic. And if you want to connect with me more, go to jennycbell.com, JennyCbell.com, to learn about Our Coven, to learn how to follow me on Substack, and also how to get a reading from me. Blessed be, witches.